Okay, so what I want to show you today is, first of all, how to create your parts so that they're easy to assemble for the fast food project, and then also how to start your assembly. Okay, so first of all, you need to set up a new project pathway. And let me do that right now because I didn't do this yesterday and all it did was get me all messed up. So I'm going to go to projects and I'm going to go to new and new single user project. And I'm going to call this fast food. I'm going to put it in my H drive folder. So remember, go to this PC, go to your H drive folder, and I'm going to create a new folder called fast food. And I'm going to click OK. Whoops, it didn't catch. So if you see it on, in a second, where it says new folder is what it said. Make new folder, we'll call it fast food, and then I have to hit enter. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to click OK. So now I have fast food, H fast food, fast food, fast food, blah, blah, blah. But I'm on the H drive, and I want to click finish. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to click, okay. I'm going to click done, but I'm not in the project yet because I have other files open. So let me close everything. You have to, yeah. So I'm going to show you how to make all these parts here in just a second. But I didn't want to, I just want to show you correctly how to set up the project pathway. So you have to do that though before, now see, it's not even showing up as a project. So we'll do it again. There it is. Now I just can make that the active project and be done. All right, now I can start drawing parts. So I'm going to do a new part, standard IPT. All right, and I'm just going to do a couple of parts. I'm not going to do the whole thing for you, and I expect your parts to look realistic, whereas mine are going to look super basic. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to create a new sketch to start a new part, and I'm going to create the patty. So I'm going to use this XZ plane because it makes more sense to me to create it, like to extrude a cylinder and then to fillet the edges or whatever. So I'm going to use a circle and I'm going to line it up with the origin here. And this will help you later when you go to assemble if you have everything lined up with the origin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it 4 inches in diameter because that's about the size of a regular burger. And I'm going to then finish the sketch. And I'm going to extrude it. I think a burger patty is about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to call it 1/2 inch in thickness. And I'm going to click OK. Now it doesn't look very patty-like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fillet the edge. And I think the edge should be filleted 0.25. And I'll fillet the top and bottom edge. Now it's starting to look a little bit more like a hamburger patty. And then the last thing I'll do is I'm up here next to the two, in the middle of these color wheels, there's this default material. And what I'm going to change my material to is dirt, which sounds yucky, but it kind of looks like a hamburger. So you can play with the different materials and change the appearance so that it looks more hamburgery. Anyway, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do File, Save As. Make sure I'm going to my H drive folder, and I'm going to call this one Patty. I'll call it H Patty because I have another one in there called Patty. Hamburger patty. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make just a slice of cheese. So I'm going to do create a new file, standard IPT, and I'm just going to do like a craft single basically. So I'm going to once again start my sketch so that I'm on that XZ plane, And I'm going to use this new rectangle command where it's like a circle. It goes out from the center. So rather than stretching it in one direction or the other, I'm going to stretch it out this way. And I'm going to make it 4 inches again. Whoops. Okay, got a little big. And then 4 here. And now I'm going to finish sketch. I think my cheese is about 1/8 of an inch thick. So I'm going to extrude it 0.125. Click OK. And then I want to make it look more cheesy. So I'm going to click this and my color wheel and get my goldeny, yellowy, there we go. That looks like a good piece of cheese. Okay, so now I have my patty and my cheese. One thing before I need to go back and do this on the patty. I want to go into the origin folder and I want to turn on some of the pre-made work planes. I'm just turning on the visibility of the YZ and the XY work planes because this will help me later when I go to assemble. And I'm going to file save as right now. And I'm going to make sure I'm in the fast food and I'm going to call this one cheesy. I don't think that's how you spell cheesy. I don't know. We'll just call it good. Okay, now let me go back over to H patty. Whoops. I don't even know what I just did there. Oh, I closed this thing. All right. Oh my. I got 2 parts. I changed my view settings is what I did when I double clicked. Ugh. I guess I'll just close cheese for right now. Okay. Well, we'll have to reopen that in a second. I don't know what I did when I double clicked, but I clicked on something. All right, so now what I wanted to do was just make those work planes, those same ones, visible here. Okay, and now I'm ready to go. So now I'm going to start assembling. Oh, let me make a pickle real quick. So, because I want to show you something with the pickle. Now, I expect your pickle to be kind of wavy and look like, you know, a pickle you would put on a hamburger. I'm just going to make a little disc so I'm not wasting your time showing you how I would do it. But I think what I would do is I would extrude cut some troughs on the top to make it give it that ridged effect. And then I would mirror them to the bottom. I think that's what I would do. This pickle is going to be 1 inch in diameter. And it's not going to look very pickly at all, except that it will be green. And I think I'm going to make it about 1/4 of an inch thick. Ooh, that's probably too. Let's make it 0.2 thick. That still seems very thick, 0.15. Okay, we'll make it that thickness. And then I'm just going to simply color it green. Make it kind of that yellowy. Ooh, that's kind of fluorescent. We'll make it a little darker. There. Okay, so that's my fake pickle. Okay, and I'm going to do File, Save As, and I'm going to call this one Ugly Pickle because it's not really very pickly looking. Remember, I expect your parts to look more realistic because you guys have those inventor skills. I am just trying to do this quickly just to show you how to assemble. Okay. So now I've got my patty, I closed my cheese file, and I've got my pickle. So now I'm going to start an assembly. So I'm going to do a new file, the standard IAM. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to place a component. Now this is not the menu item I want. If you click the down arrow, we just want the plain old place the component. So first thing I'm going to do is go get my hamburger patty and place it and do OK. So I only get one of them. I don't want to keep multiplying hamburger patties everywhere. All right, I am going to ground this component because, well, I'll ground it in a second. Let me go get the cheese first. I'm going to put the cheesy cheese on and I'm gonna just place one of them. Now, if I take a look at my degree of freedom analysis, so it might say create derived substitute when you first looked at the menu, but then you want to scroll down to degree of freedom analysis. I have 3 translation degrees of freedom on the patty and 3 rotation degrees of freedom. Likewise, I have 3 on the cheese in translation and 3 rotation degrees of freedom. I have to remove all of those degrees of freedom. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ground the hamburger patty. So over here, I'm just going to right click and select grounded. Now, if I go back to my degree of freedom analysis, I can see that the hamburger patty is at 0 and 0. Okay? It's at 0 and 0, and the cheese is still at 3 and 3. Now, you can't just ground everything. That's not cool, but you can ground the first piece. I don't have my bottom bun. If I had the bottom bun, I would be grounding that. So now I'm ready to constrain my cheese. So I'm going to click constrain, and I'm going to first mate the cheese to the hamburger patty surface. Now it's going to flip the cheese over because it's the same on both sides. So here we go. So I'm going to click mate and just mate those two and click OK. Now, if I click my degree of freedom analysis, I can see I have taken away some more degrees of freedom. So now that I have these work planes situated so nicely in here, I'm going to mate and flush the work plane. So I'm going to click constrain, and I'm going to click this work plane, and I see the arrow is pointing away from me on that work plane, and here it's pointing towards me. So I'm going to mate those two. Sometimes the arrows are actually pointing in the same direction, and if it doesn't work when you try to mate them, it's probably because the arrows are pointing in the same direction. You just got to switch it to flush. Now I'm going to click OK, but I can still move the cheese in this direction. So now I'm going to click constrain again, and I'm going to click, I'm going to start with mate. Oh, and see the arrows are pointing the same way, so it doesn't work. So if the arrows are pointing the same way, I just need to switch it to flush, and then it works. And now I check my degrees of freedom, and I have zeros. So that's what I want. Okay, now let's say I wanted to add a pickle. And I chose a pickle because it's not going to be right dead center and locked like everything else. So I want to show you with my ugly pickle how you would add it to your burger. So here we go, ugly pickle. I'm going to place the ugly pickle right here, and I'm going to just throw it. Well, I'm just going to set it. I can actually do several of these if I want, but let's just start with one. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want this pickle to go right there. Okay. I want that pickle to go roughly in that quadrant of the cheese. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do constrain, and I'm first going to mate the top of the pickle and the top of the cheese, and basically just flip the pickle over, and that's good. And now I want to constrain this plane to this plane, but I'm going to use an offset. So this is something new we haven't done before. So I'm going to click mate, first of all, and I'm going to grab this plane and grab that plane. Now, first of all, I really wanted to flush them, I think. Hold on, let me redo that. When I try to constrain those, the arrows are both pointing the same way. So I'm actually going to click flush, and I'm going to click it, and it flushes it right to that plane. Well, now I want it to go back where it was, so I'm going to type in, I'm going to estimate that's 1 inch, which I did this yesterday. That's why my guess is so good. If it goes the wrong direction, just use a negative number. And I'm going to leave that like that. Now I am going to do the same thing over here. So I can still move the pickle this way. So here we go. I am going to check here, now my arrows are going, nope, they're still going the same way. So I'm going to flush the pickle again. And now I'm going to do, let's try a -inch, -1. Okay, that went the opposite way that I wanted it to go. So now I'm going to do the +1. And I'm going to click OK. And now let's look at the degree of freedom analysis again. So this pickle number 1, is fully constrained. All of my other ugly pickles are just flying around out there because I haven't constrained them. So here's what we're going to do. I am also going to do a pattern of my pickles. I'm not sure if I need these pickles here or not, but we'll see in just a second. So I'm going to do a circular pattern of the pickles. So let's quickly generate a work axis in the center of our cheese. You can generate a work axis by clicking on the intersection of 2 work planes, and that basically creates a work axis. So I'm going to click this axis, I'm going to click that plane and this plane, and it's there. It's small, but the work axis is there. Okay, I think. I saw it try to pop up, but I think it's there still. Let me try it one more time, see if we can get it a little taller. Ugh, just clicked on the wrong plane. It pops up and then it shrinks back down, so whatever. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pattern these pickles. So I'm going to click, it's kind of tilted at a weird angle. All right, I'm going to click pattern, and I'm going to do a circular pattern, just the way you would do it if you were modeling. And I'm going to first click the pickle. It's looking for the component. The component is the pickle. And now I want to click circular, and I got to find that axis, which is, okay, I don't want it to go, do I want it to go down? Oh, look at what I did. Well, as soon as I click circular, it already replicated it. If I do 5, I don't know if it will do 5. Maybe the size of the pickle. So I'm not exactly sure why that's not working, but it certainly did 4, and that's good enough for me. So I'm going to click OK, and that patterned the pickle. I think it did just created, I don't know if I needed these extra pickles. So if I go ahead and I look at my degree of freedom analysis, I have everything fully constrained. So it took pickles 6, 7, and 8, so I got rid of the ones I didn't use. And that is it, my friends. That is all I wanted to show you today. I'm going to take questions here in just a